I never thought my own sister would betray me the way she did. But when she stole 5 years of my work and passed it off as her own brilliant idea to our family's board of directors, something inside me changed. This isn't just a story about revenge, it's about justice, patience, and watching karma work in the most satisfying way possible. Let me start from the beginning. My name's irrelevant, but you can call me what everyone in my family calls me, the smart one. I'm 34 years old, and I worked for my family's tech consulting firm based in Seattle. My father started this company back in the 90s, building it from a 2-person operation in our garage to a multi-million-dollar enterprise with over 200 employees. Growing up, my sister Vanessa and I both knew we'd eventually join the family business. It was just expected. Vanessa is 2 years younger than me, and we were close growing up. Best friends, really. We shared everything: clothes, secrets, dreams. When I went to MIT for computer science and she went to a state school for business management, I didn't think much of it. We had different strengths. I was the technical mind, she was the people person. It made sense. After college, we both joined Dad's company. I worked in the technical development department, while Vanessa started in client relations. The plan, as Dad always said, was that eventually one of us would take over as CEO when he retired. He never explicitly said who, but there was an unspoken understanding that it would probably be me. I had the grades, the technical knowledge, and I'd been grooming myself for leadership since high school. Vanessa seemed fine with this arrangement. She'd tell me she didn't want the pressure of running the whole company anyway. She was happy managing client relationships and enjoying her work-life balance. I believed her. For 5 years, I worked on a project in my spare time. It was a proprietary AI-driven system that could predict tech infrastructure failures before they happened, potentially saving companies millions in downtime and emergency repairs. I'm talking about something genuinely revolutionary: machine learning algorithms that could analyze patterns in system behavior and flag vulnerabilities 48 to 72 hours before critical failures occurred. I kept detailed documentation of everything. Every iteration, every test, every breakthrough was logged in my personal encrypted cloud storage. I worked nights and weekends, sometimes pulling all-nighters in my home office. My boyfriend at the time left me because I was married to my work. He wasn't wrong, but this project was my baby. It was going to be my legacy. I made one critical mistake: I trusted my sister. Vanessa knew about my project. I'd talk to her about it over Sunday dinners at Mom and Dad's house. She'd listen with what I thought was genuine interest, asking questions about the technical aspects, the potential market, the implementation strategy. She even helped me workshop some of the business pitch elements. "You're so brilliant," she'd tell me. "But you need to make sure the board understands the business value, not just the technical specs." I thought she was being a supportive sister. I was so stupid. About 6 months ago, Dad announced he was finally ready to start transitioning out of the CEO role. He wanted to see the company in safe hands before he fully retired. He called a special board meeting and invited both Vanessa and me to present our visions for the company's future. Whoever impressed the board more would be named CEO designate and would shadow Dad for a year before taking full control. I was excited. This was my moment. I'd been preparing for this my entire professional life. I spent 3 weeks perfecting my presentation, which would culminate in the big reveal of my predictive system. This was my ace in the hole, the innovation that would prove I was ready to lead the company into the future. The night before the presentation, I stayed late at the office doing one final run-through. Vanessa stopped by my office around 8 p.m. with coffee. "Thought you could use this," she said with a warm smile. "Tomorrow's the big day. I'm so nervous, but also excited to see what you've prepared. Want to do a practice run?" I almost said yes. But I wanted to surprise everyone, including her. "Thanks, but I want to keep it under wraps," I told her. "You'll see tomorrow." She hugged me. "You're going to kill it, sis. I'm so proud of you." The next morning, I arrived at the office early, ready to set up my presentation. The board meeting was scheduled for 10 a.m. At 9:45, Dad's assistant found me in the conference room. "Change of plans," she said. "Vanessa's presenting first. Your dad wants you to present after lunch instead." It was unusual, but whatever. I'd go second. Maybe it was better I'd be the one they remembered most clearly. I took my seat in the boardroom as Vanessa walked in. She was wearing her power suit, the red one she saved for important occasions. She looked confident, poised. She set up her laptop, and the presentation title appeared on the screen. My blood ran cold. Predictive Tech, Revolutionizing Infrastructure Management Through AI-Driven Failure Prediction. That was my project name. My title. For the next 45 minutes, I sat in stunned silence as my sister presented 5 years of my work as her own. Every slide, every algorithm explanation, every market analysis, it was all mine. She'd even used some of my exact phrases, the ones I'd told her over dinner. The only differences were superficial, different fonts, different color schemes, her name on the title slide instead of mine. The board was enthralled. They asked questions, and she answered them, sometimes correctly, sometimes fumbling through the technical details but recovering with charm and business speak. When someone asked about the machine learning model specifications, she said she'd collaborated with the tech team but kept the details proprietary. Smart. She knew enough to sound credible but not enough to get caught in technical scrutiny. My father was beaming. I'd never seen him look at Vanessa that way before, with such pride and admiration. This is exactly the kind of forward-thinking innovation we need, he said. Vanessa, this is exceptional work. I should have spoken up right then. I should have stood up and called her out in front of everyone. But I was paralyzed. Partly from shock, partly from a terrible realization, I couldn't prove it was mine. All my documentation was in my personal cloud storage, accessed from my home computer. I'd been so careful about keeping it secure that I'd never uploaded it to the company servers or shared it with anyone except Vanessa. In bits and pieces. Over dinners and casual conversations. Nothing officially documented. The presentation ended to applause. Dad called a lunch break before my presentation. I couldn't eat. I spent the hour in my office, frantically searching through my files, my emails, anything that could prove the project was mine. I found my documentation, yes, but nothing that couldn't be explained away as collaborative work or inspired by similar ideas. I almost cancelled my presentation. What was the point? Anything I showed now would look like I was copying her. But I went ahead anyway, presenting a different vision for the company, solid, but nowhere near as revolutionary as the predictive system. The board was polite but clearly underwhelmed compared to Vanessa's presentation. That afternoon, Dad announced his decision. Vanessa would be CEO designate. I would continue in my current role with a promotion to Chief Technology Officer as a consolation prize. I went home that night and cried harder than I'd cried since childhood. My boyfriend, a new one, much more supportive, held me while I sobbed out the whole story. You have to tell your dad, he said. Show him the documentation. He'll believe you. But would he? Vanessa had presented so confidently. She'd clearly prepared, anticipated questions, sold the vision. If I came forward now, it would look like sour grapes. Like a desperate attempt to sabotage my sister because I lost. I didn't sleep that night. I lay awake, cycling through emotions: betrayal, anger, disbelief, and then, slowly, something else. A cold, calculated determination. If I couldn't prove she stole my work now, I'd prove it later. And I'd make sure everyone knew. The next few weeks were torture. Vanessa was riding high on her victory, already making plans for her revolutionary system. The board had greenlit a massive budget for development and implementation. Dad put her in charge of creating a special team to build out predictive tech. And that's when I realized something beautiful: Vanessa didn't actually understand how to build it. She knew the concept because I'd explained it to her. She understood the business value because we'd discussed market potential. But the actual technical implementation? The algorithms, the neural network architecture, the data pipeline infrastructure? She was clueless. She came to me, of course. Hey, sis, she said, poking her head into my office one afternoon about a week after the presentation. I'm putting together the predictive tech team, and I'd love to have you on it as the technical lead. I know things are weird between us right now with the CEO decision, but you're still the best tech mind in the company. What do you say? The audacity was breathtaking. She'd stolen my work and now wanted me to build it for her. I smiled. Of course. I'd be happy to help. Her relief was visible. Thank God. I was worried you'd be too upset to work with me. We're family, I said. I want to see the company succeed, regardless of who's in charge. I spent the next 3 months working on her team. But I wasn't building my system. I was building a system that looked sophisticated on the surface but was fundamentally flawed at its core. Not obviously broken, that would be too suspicious, but subtly compromised in ways that would only become apparent after implementation. I designed the algorithms with critical vulnerabilities. I used outdated machine learning models that would seem cutting-edge to non-technical people but would degrade rapidly in real-world applications. I introduced dependencies on external systems that were unstable. I created documentation that was technically accurate but practically useless for troubleshooting. The beautiful part? Vanessa couldn't tell the difference. She'd review my work, nod along, and praise my brilliance. The other team members, good engineers, but none with my level of expertise in AI systems, trusted my technical leadership. Why wouldn't they? I was the CTO. Meanwhile, I was secretly building the real system at home. The one that actually worked. I documented everything meticulously, this time timestamps, version histories, even screen recordings of me coding. I created a separate company, registered under my boyfriend's name, to hold the intellectual property. Every piece of evidence was stored in multiple secure locations. 6 months after that fateful board meeting, Predictive Tech was ready for launch. Vanessa organized a huge event, clients, media, industry analysts, the whole 9 yards. This was going to be her coronation, the moment that proved she deserved the CEO position. The demo was impressive, I'll admit. I'd made sure the surface-level functionality worked perfectly. The interface was beautiful, the initial predictions were accurate enough to wow the audience, and Vanessa presented with confidence and charisma. Our father looked like he might cry with pride. The press coverage was incredible. Tech blogs called it revolutionary. Industry magazines featured Vanessa as a rising star in tech leadership. The company's stock price jumped 15%. We signed 3 major new clients on the strength of Predictive Tech alone. I waited. 2 months after launch, the first cracks appeared. The system started generating false positives, predicting failures that never happened. Then came false negatives, missing actual failures. One client experienced a major system crash that Predictive Tech completely failed to predict, costing them millions in downtime. Vanessa was panicking. She called emergency meetings with the tech team. "What's happening?" she demanded. "Why isn't it working?" I explained that these were unexpected edge cases and that we needed more training data. I made it sound like a normal part of AI system maturation. All machine learning systems go through this phase, I assured her. We just need to refine the algorithms. But the problems kept compounding. The more we fixed, the worse it got. Clients started complaining. Our biggest new client threatened to sue for breach of contract. The press that had celebrated Predictive Tech 6 months ago was now running stories about its failures. The board called an emergency meeting. Vanessa was called to explain what went wrong. She tried to deflect blame to the technical team, but Dad wasn't having it. "You presented this system," he said. "You claim to have developed it. You're responsible for its success or failure." I watched her squirm, trying to explain technical concepts she didn't fully understand, making promises she couldn't keep. The board members were unimpressed and increasingly skeptical. That's when I made my move. "If I may," I said, speaking up for the first time in the meeting. "I think I can explain what happened." All eyes turned to me. I opened my laptop and pulled up a presentation I'd prepared. Side-by-side comparisons of Vanessa's original presentation and my documentation dated months and years before her presentation. Screenshots of conversations where she'd asked me hypothetical questions about the system. Emails where I'd shared technical details with her. "I spent 5 years developing Predictive Tech," I said calmly. "Vanessa knew about it because I trusted her with information about my work. I believe she presented it to this board as her own creation, and when it came time to actually build it, she didn't have the expertise to implement it correctly." The room was dead silent. Vanessa's face went white, then red. "That's not you can't prove we collaborated on." I showed them more. My version control history, showing years of work. The registration documents for my separate company, dated before her presentation. Video recordings of me explaining the system's architecture, timestamped months earlier. But the killing blow was this: I demonstrated the real system. The one that actually worked. I'd arranged for a live demo with one of our clients who'd been experiencing issues with Vanessa's version. In real time, my system accurately predicted a failure that occurred exactly when and where I said it would. It was flawless. "This is the actual Predictive Tech system," I explained. What the company has been using is a deliberately sabotaged version. I built it that way after my work was stolen, because I knew eventually the truth would come out. My father looked like I'd slapped him. You sabotaged the company? Your own family's company. I protected my intellectual property, I corrected. Vanessa stole 5 years of my work and presented it as her own to win the CEO position. She committed fraud against this board and our clients. I simply ensured that when her version inevitably failed, I'd have proof that the real system existed and worked. The board erupted in arguments. Some members were angry at Vanessa for the theft. Others were angry at me for the sabotage. My father just looked devastated. Vanessa tried to salvage the situation. She claimed we'd worked on it together, that it was a misunderstanding, that I was bitter about losing the CEO competition. But the evidence was overwhelming and time-stamped. There was no wiggling out of it. The board meeting ended with Vanessa being placed on temporary leave pending an investigation. Dad barely looked at either of us as he left the room. The next few weeks were hell. The family was torn apart. Mom cried constantly. Dad threw himself into work, avoiding both of us. Vanessa called me every name in the book: saboteur, snake, traitor. She told everyone who'd listen that I'd destroyed the family out of jealousy. But the investigation concluded what I already knew: she'd committed corporate fraud. The company's lawyers advised that pressing charges would create a PR nightmare, but Vanessa was forced to resign. All her stock options were revoked. She was essentially expelled from the family business. I was offered the CEO designate position, but I turned it down. The sabotage, even though it was in response to theft, had destroyed my relationship with my father. He couldn't trust me anymore, and I couldn't work for someone who hadn't believed in me when it mattered. Instead, I negotiated a settlement. The company licensed my real predictive tech system for a substantial fee, enough to fund my own startup. I left the family business on my terms, with my intellectual property intact and my reputation as a brilliant tech innovator restored. My company is thriving now. We've signed major clients, secured venture capital funding, and I'm building something entirely mine. Vanessa works in a corporate job somewhere in the Midwest. I heard she had to move because the scandal made her unemployable in Seattle's tech scene. Dad and I are slowly rebuilding our relationship. He's finally acknowledged that he should have listened to me from the beginning, that he let his pride in Vanessa's presentation blind him to the truth. It'll take time, but we're getting there. As for Vanessa, we haven't spoken since she left the company. Mom tries to get us to reconcile, but I'm not ready. Maybe someday. But right now, I'm too busy running my own successful company, proving that talent and hard work will always triumph over theft and deception. Was what I did revenge? Absolutely. Was it justified? I'll let you decide. All I know is that I protected what was mine, and in the end, the truth came out. Sometimes the best revenge isn't just getting even, it's succeeding so spectacularly that everyone can see who the real talent was all along.